Call tonight's council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilors Jamison,
Here.
Knutson, Litz,
Here.
Staggers, Anderson,
Here.
Benega,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Costello.
Here. We have a quorum present tonight. We'll be led tonight's invocation by Pastor Ron Tottingham from Empire Baptist Church in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. So I ask everyone to please stand.
Our Heavenly Father, tonight, thank you for the privilege of being able to be here. Thank you for those who manage this city. And, Lord, as we think about the election coming up and the choices of new mayor and officers, we think of the importance and value of the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We pray that you'd give us guidance and leadership and all of that, that the city and the people of this city and our future would be the most important thing on the minds and hearts of those who have its management in their heart. Bless this meeting tonight. Guide us. Make sure that everything is done to glorify you. We thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Litz seconds. Further motions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Knutson. Yes. Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Costello.
Yes. All members present have voted. The consent agenda has been approved 8-0. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved, Litz.
Litz moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Brown seconds. For the motions.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move that we move item 21 ahead of item 13.
Motion is to move item 21 ahead of 13. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Knutson seconds. Further comments on the motion to move item 21 ahead of 13? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
That motion has been approved 8-0. Is there further motions? We've got a motion been made and second to approve the regular agenda as amended. Further motions aren't there. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the regular agenda as amended, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison,
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
The motion prevails. The regular agenda has been approved 8-0 as amended. Now is the time we set aside a period for 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the council for 5 minutes, we just ask them to come up, and all they have to do is give their name. So anyone wishing to address the council, we ask them to come forward at this time.
My name is Chris Pearson, 326 South Phillips Avenue, Apartment 4. I'm a citizen of Sioux Falls. I would like to speak in support of the Shape Sioux Falls document. I had the privilege of attending each chapter's public review meeting. I was very impressed by the work done by the Sioux Falls Planning Office. I was also very happy with the Planning Office openness to suggestions and candid discussions with those of us who participated. The document is very clearly organized. Though each chapter deals with a unique topic, they work together to provide a holistic approach to Sioux Falls' future. The changes from current procedures, especially in zoning, offer much flexibility and forethought for Sioux Falls' future. Much foresight is given to meld infrastructure with amenities as the city grows. I was very pleased to see careful attention has been given to quality of life topics as well. I would like to urge the City Council to adopt the Shape Sioux Falls 2035 Comprehensive Plan and use it as a guide as the Council shapes Sioux Falls.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Now, others who wish to address council for 5 minutes, we ask you to come forward and give your name. Seeing no one coming forward, we will move into the regular agenda at this time. Item number 8.
New 2009-10 retail malt beverage license for Ted Hamzy Unozoni to be operated at 196 East 6th Street, 101, with the special use permit 2009-08-16 being approved on 10/7/09. Item 9, new 2009-10 retail malt beverage license for KDN Corporation Los Toros to be operated at 1010 North Minnesota Avenue with a major amendment, 2005-0306, being approved on 04-1805. Item 10, transfer of a 2009 retail liquor license from Game Day Incorporated, Rookies Bar and Grill, 2616 South Louise Avenue to Sports Zone Incorporated, Rookies Bar and Grill, to be operated at 2616 South Louise Avenue, including Sunday sales and video lottery terminals, with a conditional use permit, 2001-0220, being approved on 03-1901. Item 11, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Ronald McDonald House Charities of South Dakota to be operated at 825 South Lake Avenue on December 10th, 2009, for the Girls' Night Out fundraiser, pending final inspections per fire. Item 12, various retail liquor, packaged liquor, and retail wine licenses renewals for 2010 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, identified as Exhibit B.
Thank you, Denise. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office, representing items 8 through 12. I thought we'd start with 8 through 11, and I do have one change on item 11, and that would just be to remove the final inspection that was just completed today. So we can go ahead and issue that without a final inspection. Are there any questions on 8 through 11 before we address the renewals?
Joe, should we just take those and let's just
Should we?
take those?
Okay.
Use it. Pardon?
I have to excuse myself.
Okay, would be noted that you will do it. Do you have to be on 8 through 11? Would we just vote for those? Let's just take those now, and then we'll come down to 12.
So I move for approval.
Okay, Costello moved.
I
to
second that motion.
Knutson second the motion to approve items 8 through 11. The motion been made and seconded. There's further comments on the motion for 8 through 11.
Amend 11 then.
And amend, do we have to amend it, or can we just, that's just taken out? It'll be just with the understanding that, the pending fire inspection has been taken care of. So, anyone else wish to address the council on items 8 through 11? Now we've got a motion been made and seconded. All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
The motion has been approved 8-0 for items 8 through 11. Now we're in 12. Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Be
Item
noted
12.
that Councilmember Costello will be excused from this item.
And item 12 are retail liquor, packaged liquor, and retail wine renewals for 2010. And I have about 7 of these that I have some corrections or pending stipulations that I would like to request. Under retail liquor for DCK LLC, David's, 212 West 10th Street, pending corrections per fire. Dakota Billiards, Inc. for Big Sports Bar and Casino at 3100 08 and 10 West 12th Street, pending final inspections per fire and building services. Gold Rush Casino, Inc. for the Gold Rush Casino, 2701 West 41st Street, Suite B, would be pending corrections per fire. Sioux Falls Ventures, LLC for Boston's The Gourmet Pizza, 3202 East 10th Street, pending corrections per fire. Westward Ho Country Club, Inc., Westward Ho Country Club, 3400 West 22nd Street, pending corrections per fire. Scott's Natalia, under Touch of Europe, 337 South Phillips Avenue, pending corrections per fire. And then I received one request to withdraw their renewal, and that would be under the retail wine for Main and Main LLC for the Spring Hill Suites, 4304 West Empire Place. They have decided not to renew their wine license, so that one would not be voted upon. On this list, the Exhibit B, we do not have any that have had underage sales in 2009. Those will come before you in 2 weeks on the 21st. Any questions on Exhibit B?
Are there questions, Lori, on item 12?
Yes. Lori, sorry, I didn't quite hear which one had decided to not renew.
Oh, sure. That was under retail wine.
Yes.
Main and Main LLC, and they have 2 of them, and the one that they're choosing not to renew is Spring Hill Suites
Thank you.
at 4304 West Empire Place.
Further questions of Lori on item 12? Others that wish to address the council on item 12? Not, is there action on the council's part to approve?
Move for approval, Jamison.
I
Jamison
second the
moves.
motion. Knutson.
Knutson seconds. Is there further comments on the motion to approve item 12? I see none, so all in favor will vote yes, those opposed no.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 12 has been approved, 7 yes and 1 excused. Okay, now we move to item 21.
Deferred action from meeting of November 16, 2009, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and the City of Harrisburg for utilization of the wastewater collection and treatment facility of Sioux Falls.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. Tonight, we'll build upon the presentation we provided you at the 4 o'clock informational meeting. This item was deferred back in November based on an equity concern that was raised to buy in for the reserve capacity of the City of Sioux Falls wastewater treatment system. The result that we've had after having a number of meetings with a number of groups was to propose a short-term solution tonight that is included in the current contract with the City of Harrisburg that has a multiplier on their rate that is phased in over time, and then along with a long-term approach that really will have a comprehensive regionalization wastewater study conducted that will initiate in January of 2010 and work with all the interested regional communities and comprise a comprehensive study that can really first establish the amount of reserve capacity that the City of Sioux Falls has, quantify what those interested communities will need, and last, establish a buy-in cost for that recognized reserve capacity. And so essentially the two items, parts 1, sections 2 and 3, are the only two areas of the contract that had substantial change. The only other changes that have occurred in the document are grammatical items, and so I will take you through the multiplier. In 2010, it's recommended to have a 1.25 multiplier. For January 1 through June 30th of 2011, would also have a multiplier of 1.25 on their rate. Second half of 2011, the multiplier would increase to 1.5. And then January 1 of 2012 and beyond, the multiplier would be 2.0. There are provisions in Section 3 that allows us, if the regional approach is accepted and approved by the City Council, that if agreed by both parties, this agreement would be opened up to accept those policy changes and then also establish the terms of what that buy-in process will be. So with that, I'll answer your questions.
Are there questions of Mark on item number 21? Are there others that wish to address the council on item 21? Go ahead.
Yes, I do have a question. Mark, one of the primary groups that were objecting to the initial agreement were the developers. And the reason they objected to it was they felt that this would give a competitive advantage to Harrisburg when it comes to developing land and so forth in comparison to Sioux Falls. With this multiplier, has this kind of resolved that issue or not?
I think what we've recognized through this process is that in meetings with other interested communities, along with Harrisburg, Brandon, Renner, and now T, that at the end of the day, there is a need to have reserve capacity available for these communities. The competition factor is we're in the business to actually write a good contract that if there is a need from another community, we have to find an equitable way to actually provide a cost to that. That's been the basis of our discussions, and I have not gone into the competition factor of the development.
What kind of response have they given you about this agreement?
Well, I think that obviously the Home Builders Association of Sioux Falls has been very actively involved, along with the IRAB board, which has representation from developers, and it's been an iterative process. We've obviously, I think we all absolve that we don't like the multiplier because it's not an economic basis, but we, at the end of the day, recognize that there's a cost to buy in that offsets the cost of Harrisburg going to a higher level of treatment, be it a treatment plant. And so this multiplier provides a short-term option for Harrisburg. so they can take advantage of their stimulus funding, but also gives us the time that it's really going to take to come up with an economically based cost to buy in.
Just one other question. Do we have any developers here tonight? Are you aware of? Or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Further questions of Mark? Go ahead, Greg.
Mark, when would they most likely be able to hook into our system? What time of year would that be?
I think the projection is to have their project complete and actually discharging wastewater to the city for sure by September of 2010, and Harrisburg's engineers are here if that's different.
Thanks.
Further questions?
Mark, I know in an ideal world, it would have been better for us to know what the exact cost is so that Harrisburg's not paying for any of Sioux Falls' issues and Sioux Falls is not paying for any of Harrisburg's concerns. My real concern still is the multiplier and why we would change that, excuse me, after July 11th until we know for sure that the study's complete and that we have actual numbers that include our bond payments, our interest payments, and all those kinds of things. So what's the rationale from going from 1.25 to 1.5 to 2 in the second and third year after the study's complete?
Well, essentially there is, there's a philosophical phased-in approach here that originally I recommended a 2.0. And so to actually get to that point, because we do recognize that there is a cost. And so in working with the City of Harrisburg, knowing that it's going to affect their user rates, that's when we went and really started to work with, again, all the user groups and get the overall direction from IRAB, which did support this short-term and long-term approach. But I will tell you that the multipliers are a philosophical basis that allows us to, number one, recognize it, but I think on the basis that by contract, Harrisburg also knows that we're going to do a look back at the amount of revenue that we receive over the 1.0 and apply that to what their actual cost is. And so I think it's certainly something that we've worked with on a number of fronts and think that it needs to be recognized.
And I agree that it needs to be recognized. You and I guess, just philosophically don't agree that it's probably more than the 1.25 until we get the study complete.
Okay.
And I'm going to make an amendment at some point to change that to 1.25 until we get to that final hard cost, if you will.
Okay.
Further questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 21? Okay. Pete.
Mayor, Council, Reed Ramstead, Mayor of Harrisburg. I'd like to reiterate again on the factor of 1.25. We feel the city of Harrisburg is able to take the 1.25 and deal with the 1.25. What we have a problem with, again, is anything above the 1.25. The 1.25 does not take any money away from Sioux Falls. That is just something that we're going to get credit for in the end. So whether it's 1.25 or 1.5 or 2, it is not taking any money away. So why would we need to go to 1.5 or 2? Because it's not taking any money out of anybody's pockets. It's just banking the money into what we're essentially doing is just banking our money, giving it to Sioux Falls to get interest and gain money from. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions of Reed?
Mayor, I remember when I met with you a couple weeks ago, you reiterated a few benefits from your position as far as Harrisburg tapping into the program. Would you share those, as far as?
It is my understanding, and I don't know, maybe just going, I'll have my engineers correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that where we are connecting into is very underutilized right now in the city of Sioux Falls. And us connecting there will help the flow tremendously, so it'll help the efficiency of that section of sewer run a lot better than it currently is at this time.
Thank you. Further questions? others that wish to address the council on item number 21? Not? Go ahead, come on forward.
Clayton Jameson, 6309 Grand Prairie Drive. I'd just like to address a few, the Home Builders Association Developers Committee supports this contract, and this is only after a great deal of work on it. Part of the reason for the multiplier effect is that without that, we are in effect up in the air on whether we're going to regionalize sewer. And that, in other words, Harrisburg would be getting a very, very good deal, and so they wouldn't necessarily participate in a regionalization of it. And what this effectively does is shuts off the development of Sioux Falls to the south. We would become dependent on the cooperation of Harrisburg to economically provide sewer to the Sioux Falls in the south boundary. And if we have a regional effect of the sewer system, then we can work together in a cooperative manner. Now, if it's at a 1.0, that's designed as a break-even on our costs, except for the fact it doesn't apply a single penny to the $11 million of the forced main that we built on the east side. Not one penny. And it doesn't provide any of the assets to build a new sewer plant, which is required because we'll be over capacity for that lift station. So when you look into it deep, that there's so many complicated variables, it was very hard to come up with an exact figure. And it was the strong wish of the developers in Sioux Falls to not have a disproportionate advantage to Harrisburg and the inability of us to provide sewer to the south portion of Sioux Falls without very expensive lift stations bringing it to the east. So we would have to avoid cooperation from Harrisburg if we had to. So it's an important thing. This is 8 square miles probably of what Sioux Falls would probably develop, and instead Harrisburg would develop it. They already have it designed, so they would just their mains would come and supply the sewer basins right up to the south of Sioux Falls, but it would require their cooperation to let us extend a gravity main to those sewers and then use their sewer system to lift it up into our sewer system. With this regionalization approach, we're going to have cooperation, and it's going to be a fair square deal. They're going to come up with objective ways to assign costs. And on the east side, we would be converted to what would be, it's going to come out probably to a cost to hook up to the sewer for an individual home. And that cost will be fairly proportioned to everybody in that regional sewer system. And so it's important to have Harrisburg be motivated to a regional system, and it's important that it's a fair system. And in other words, we don't want to subsidize the development in Harrisburg at the expense of developing in Sioux Falls. Let's just make it fair, and Mark Cotter did a wonderful job of putting a system together to do that. And can I take any questions?
Thank you, Clayton. Questions? Go ahead.
Clayton, isn't that exactly what we're trying to do, is by hiring a consultant to make sure that we know what our costs are, and we have an expert in the field who's going to tell us what those costs will be? If you compare the current rate of what Sioux Falls is paying versus what Harrisburg is paying, I don't understand your comments about limiting growth south.
Well, Harrisburg wouldn't be paying anything for the sewer plant that we would in effect be liable to build under this contract. Under the first version of the contract that was brought forward, we were being obligated to build a sewer plant because the east side and Harrisburg would overcapacitize the lift station. And that's planned to build that. But their participation in building that is required. Their participation of letting us put our sewer into their system in the sewer basin that there's a couple of sewer basins that come up right up to the south of Sioux Falls. And if we're all motivated to go into this regionalization, then it'll be fair. If they're not motivated and they don't have to, and we have to provide the capacity of building another plant at our expense, it would be just, we have to encourage their cooperation. And that's what this is, and we are agreeing to be absolutely fair with them with this study.
I agree, but my understanding is also that the only way that Harrisburg can get the services they need is to provide or to be a partner in the regionalization of this program. Is that correct? If I could ask the mayor.
Reed, you want to address that?
That is correct. In the contract, it does state that we are to participate in the development of a new wastewater treatment plant. So that is not left out. Right. That is in the contract that we will participate in that.
Do you see any concerns about cutting off development to the south?
They talk about an equal playing field. I don't see that Harrisburg will ever compete on an equal playing field with the city of Sioux Falls on development or anything else. So I don't see how we can say we need an equal playing field on this. I think we've done our share, and I've stated to everyone that we don't want to take any subsidies. We don't want to take any money out of any residents of Sioux Falls' pockets. That is not our goal. Our goal is to have everything that's fair and for the whole region.
When the study was done by our consultant a year or so ago, excuse me, I believe that their report said that the rate was going to be less if, in fact, Harrisburg did continue to participate with the growth of the sewer system. And now we've increased the rate by 1.25. So I believe that we are protected about, until we get this study completed, that we're going to come up with hard numbers that, in fact, tell us exactly what our costs are. And as Mark has suggested, at some point we're going to go to strictly a usage rate, we hope, rather than the multiplier or the acreage charges or whatever, to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share. So I believe this study is going to prove to everyone what those costs are, and that we are all having a fair shake at what that should be.
That was my understanding of the survey too, or of the study, that's going to happen.
Pat?
This is a very complicated issue, and I sat in a number of meetings with the IRAB board and developers and Mayor Amstad and others. And I don't think there's any question that we all want to get to a regional approach. It's the best cost-wise for everybody. It's the best environmentally. It's sustainable. There's all kinds of reasons. It's what do we do in the transition period? And I think the developers, from their standpoint, when they came to us, they've always asked one thing. The one thing was, treat us the same as you're going to treat Harrisburg. Because right now we got to pay $4,600 an acre, and Harrisburg is allowed to tap into it at essentially no cost other than the the $1.85. And what do we know about that $1.85? Well, we know that that really isn't our whole cost. And the first part of that is that there's no interest in it. There's no interest calculated in on the east side sanitary sewer line figured into that $1.85. So we know it's got to be more than that. But it concerns me that we might not have other costs, and I can't quantify those now, and that's the reason for the study. But it's a very complex issue, and a lot of time has gone into it from the developers, from the Public Works, and from a couple of us on the council, certainly from Harrisburg has been engaged. And the whole idea is to get to that regionalization approach. And I just don't think that at this late in the game, we need to be getting in the middle of the agreement that's been negotiated. There's no justification for $1.25. There's no justification for $1.50. There's no justification for $2. We just don't have the information to make it work. But we're taking what has been proposed is a reasonable breakdown of a multiplier based on what's out there in Rapid City, what's out there in Bismarck, what are out there in other communities, and that getting to the 2.0 at some point down in 2012, which gives us really 2 whole years to get this figured out, getting to that, we ought to be able to be there by then. And I think that maybe is what protects the citizens and makes Harrisburg come to the table to be a part of that regional. Because although it calls for to be part of negotiations on that, there's nothing in this agreement that sets how much they're going to pay for how long or what the terms are going to be. I think the terms are we're going to agree at a future date. And I don't know that that protects the citizens of Sioux Falls. I don't know what the right rate is. I just think we need to go with the collective minds of the development community and our Public Works Department.
Further comments?
Councilor Costello and Councilor Benega, and I guess, and the public too, I guess, I totally agree with when you said it's very complicated, obviously, and I listened carefully and sat in on quite a few meetings like the rest of you. But, one thing that I personally feel bad about, and apologize to the world, I guess, is that way back in June 7th or whatever it was, is when after we had spent as much time and money as we did hiring a very experienced consultant on this issue, we were told at that meeting, or meetings, I should say, that, we were told that Harrisburg would be coming online, our system, at that point, And I was remiss in not asking any questions, or, frankly, the thought never even occurred to me. So I feel like, that's kind of muddied the water, too, because we as a city council, we actually, I think unanimously, but I'm not quite sure of the vote, approved, that agreement. And that also is a concern to me, but I'm struggling on this issue, like the rest of you.
Pat, you and I agree with everything you said. My problem is philosophically, at the end of the study, we just raised the rate without any justification. That's the bottom line.
You're right, and again, I can't justify any of the numbers, but we know there's additional costs. And we know that if you're a developer and you're inside the city of Sioux Falls, you pay $4,600 to get into that sewer line. And if you're Harrisburg, you don't. And part of that, the additional money above the 1.0 multiplier needs to be set aside. One, if the deal doesn't go through, that one, it can help reduce that cost of particularly the force main and the lift station, because that's primarily the components that Harrisburg will be using. But that money that goes in above that multiplier can help offset those costs and in turn reduce the $4,600 per acre platting fee for the Sioux Falls developers. And that's only if the deal falls apart, because at the end, if we can get to the regional approach, everybody's going to pay the same amount, whether you're in, I think the goal is whether you're in Brandon or Prairie Meadows or Harrisburg or Sioux Falls, you're going to pay that same amount. So that's the goal, and we just have to make sure we get to that goal. But in case it doesn't work out, that's the trigger that protects the citizens and protects the developers.
Further comments?
If I could get a clarification from Mark. Mark, is it true that the interest is not included in this formula?
I think the question is that the interest is not included in the cost recovery amount that's paid at platting, and that collectively we share, the entire citizens share the interest cost on all the cost recoveries. So there is a component of that rate. The O&M rate also includes a prescribed amount of interest. I will also, if I could, Mayor, the escalating multiplier does recognize that there is a cost, but we also, once we get to this point, we've got a number of other jurisdictions that are by contract, their contracts don't expire for a number of years. Our commitment to all the groups that we've worked with, including Harrisburg, is that once that's established, we want to move into that new policy change. And from our perspective, the way to move into that policy change, we recognized in the multiplier that we did soften it on the beginning, but we do want to have a motivation to actually open up the agreement. And that was one of the key reasons to actually, in about 18 months, there's a multiplier that increases. It doesn't go to 2.0, it goes to 1.5. And so with the expectation that both sides are motivated to actually move into the regional approach. So that's why we didn't also recommend to do 1.25 until that point, because contractually that could be less than what the proposed policy is. And we want to get started right away with it.
Further questions?
I have one more question, and then I'll be quiet. Mark, when in your professional engineering experience, when we get to the end of this 18th-month period, does Harrisburg really have another choice?
Well, I think they always have another choice. I think that collectively as a region, we're going to be able to, one of the comments that Bob Litz had said is where we went in Minneapolis, they started out with 40 treatment plants, and today service 105 communities with 7. And so, just like Clayton Jameson mentioned, this is going to be a cooperative effort, but it's also going to be an area where we can focus resources. And so I would hope that the discussion isn't that that they're not going to have another choice, is that they're going to come willingly.
Right.
Okay.
Further comments? Others who wish to go ahead?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could hear from Todd once again about the perspective. Are we subsidizing Harrisburg?
Todd Anowski, Government Affairs Director with the Home Builders Association. One other resolution that we were working on at IRAB was a resolution that recognized that wastewater regional study that Mark was explaining earlier along with Clayton. And another element that was also discussed was with the value that we place on the east side sanitary cost recovery that developers have paid in. We understand that we're hopeful that that resolution will come back to you at a future time, and some of those elements can be worked out at that time. So, again, we're supportive of what we've come here for so far tonight, and that's where we're at.
Go ahead.
Todd, if this passes tonight, will land in Sioux Falls or adjacent Sioux Falls to develop it with the sewer, is it going to come down in cost from the 4,000 plus or not?
Once again, we might refer to that regional wastewater study for those results, and I don't know, I'd have to refer that to Mark Cotter for his thoughts on that.
We will get the resolution for the study back to you, so it will get done.
Well, I'm just commenting regarding my colleague's question as far as the subsidizing, and it might be a word that I'm a little bit sensitive about, because it just seems to me that any, and again, I'm from a very small town, I'm very proud of those roots, actually, as you all know, but it just seems to me, I mean, that subsidizing argument or topic or whatever could never end, it seems to me, because I mean, we could say that people, in Harrisburg who use the pavilion and the convention center and the arena and our swimming pools and our parks and our, I mean, the list could go on and on and on. I mean, it just seems to me it's logical when a larger community has many, many, many wonderful offerings, is that it just goes without saying that smaller communities are going to come and use those facilities, but I guess I don't look at that as subsidizing. I mean, I'm just really happy to have them, and I love to be a good neighbor.
Go ahead.
Mark, can you maybe further explain where the additional funds from the multipliers will go and what it'll be used for above the 1.0?
Certainly. Well, I think, too, we've got a fairly short time frame, and so if Harrisburg actually does start to discharge wastewater to Sioux Falls in September, there'll be just a short time and that's in 2010. There'll be a short time in 2010 that they will be paying a monthly bill. And then, again, our expectation is to finalize this study by mid-2011. So we're logically probably 9 to 10 months where we're going to receive their base rate of 1.85 times a multiplier. What we expect to do is that we will use that, put it in pooled cash and take care of our business. But we're going to recognize that once we get to that point, so we can offset their ultimate costs. And so I guess I would say that today, as we functionalize out the cost to treat the wastewater, convey it, and also service the debt, that our pooled cash, unrestricted cash, that it would go into that fund, and also, primarily, if we have expected reduced platting fees on the cost recovery areas in town, it will also supplement what we need to actually provide for those debt service, because our notes are typically 20-year notes, and if we don't get enough cost recovery in a prescribed year, then that's one of our key functions of our reserve funds. So it's a work in progress on an annual basis.
So really, there won't be any reduction in the cost recovery for developers in Sioux Falls until we get to a regional approach.
I think that's one of the key things that we've established that will be in this resolution is what collectively, and that to me is what we've got to spend some more time on, is what collectively do we believe the usage of that lift station and pump station is, time frame based on flow, and then we'll come back and actually have that resolution that does two things. It basically commences the study, formally commences the regionalization study approach, but also provides some guidance on what happens if we don't go down that road, specifically for every entity, because not only Harrisburg, but Brandon expects to grow, and in our discussions with them, they do expect to need additional capacity. Renner, at least in the short term, they don't expect to grow, but they certainly want to be at the table. And then we've also heard from T that they would also are being an interested party. So I would say that we'll always allow the cost to follow the benefit. And if once this approach is undertaken and we don't go that way, that'll be the other point of that resolution, that there'll be some guidance in there of what we do with those dollars, which would potentially recognize that there's an east side cost recovery reduction.
But whether we go regionally or whether we just go with cost, we're still going to have to come up with a formula that everybody in that's using the system is fair, because, but for tonight, we're really just trying to do is enter into the short-term agreement with Harrisburg, because Harrisburg really has been a good neighbor, and we're trying to deal with this issue and then deal with the long-term issue after we get through this one.
That's right.
Further comments? Go ahead.
Mark, I know there's an issue about whether or not Harrisburg will come to the table after the regional plan has been established. Are they contractually bound to do that, or they could say, no, we don't want to play because the results show that it's going to cost us a lot more than just this perhaps two times multiplier? Is that an option for them?
To actually just keep this contractually in place?
Yeah, and just say, no, we don't want to play.
Well, it is until at least the first exercise, which is at the end of the 5 years. And so, because it's a 5-year contract that with mutual interest on both sides, there is 3 5-year renewals. And so that's my other point, is that 18 months goes fast in government, but also 5 years goes fast in a contract. And so if we do determine that there's a better way, we want to be able to have a vehicle that actually is justified, economically based, allows us to move away from the multiplier, and truly has a motivation on this entity's part to open up the agreement.
Further questions?
I'd just like to point out that I can hardly believe that if Sioux Falls builds a treatment plant down southeast of here, and then Harrisburg has one 5 miles away that's similar, it's going to be any less in cost. That just, I wouldn't know how that would be.
Question I forgot to ask, and I don't care who answers it, but, considering that this body up here, passed the rate fee agreement with the idea that Harrisburg was coming online, and that was June, I believe. So I guess I've never asked anyone, what changed so dramatically that we had all this uproar in the last couple months? I mean, what changed? What happened? Anyone answer that for me?
Well, I'd like Steve Berrien to be right here tonight and answer that question, because apparently it was common knowledge that these multipliers exist out in communities all across the region, across the nation. I mean, what changed is we learned that $600,000 a year in interest isn't factored into our cost recovery. That there's a cost, that there's a risk associated from the city for providing these services.
Okay.
Further questions? Go ahead.
I guess, Mark, I'm just wondering, you mentioned in very general terms what's going to happen with this additional money that's generated. I guess I'm just a little concerned it's too general in nature. A little more specific as to, apparently this is not going to go for reducing the costs for developing land. And so this is going to be kind of a bonanza for public works to spend extra money. Can you be maybe a little more specific?
I can certainly, I think just based on the nature and the time, I think our initial, and just based on tracking with the pace of development as we are today, we're not at normal pace. The most likely place, if we were to track it, will be to service the debt on the east side cost recovery. I mean, that to me is the most functional place that we put it. And so with that, but we operate like that in our pooled cash standpoint. So I just wanted us to get away from compartmentalizing it, but we can certainly, provide a basis of what the multiplier is. As it is 1.25, it will certainly be less in revenue stream than 2.0. And so we're going to first meet our obligations of the fund, so it's a healthy utility, and manage it accordingly.
Further questions? Others that wish to address the council?
I just have one more question for Mayor Ramstad. Is it your understanding that at the in the end of the first term of 5 years, that the city of Sioux Falls is not obligated to renew your contract?
I guess I don't know for sure on that. Do you know? I mean, we have the option, I think it's an option of mutual agreement that we have 3 5-year renewals after that. I think there would have to be a justification as to why you don't want to renew the contract, You can't just say, I guess I don't know that you could just say we don't want.
It's got to be, it's mutual agreement.
Mutual agreement. And then, again, if you guys want to put in the contract that we are obligated to participate in a regional thing, we certainly can do that.
Again, because you got a lot of interest to be.
We don't want to build our own treatment plant
that's right.
3 miles
So you've
south
got-
of Sioux Falls.
You're motivated.
We don't want to do that.
You're motivated anyway on this.
I guess to me, the point of the terms are not, because we know you want to be involved, is are you going to agree in 5 years or 3 years or whatever, 2 years, if we don't have any of the numbers? What if you don't like the numbers? And then, I mean,
I guess if we don't like the numbers, we got to live with the numbers, because I really don't see a cheaper way of doing it. I don't see that the city of Harrisburg could come up with a cheaper way than regionalization to take care of our wastewater. I guess I don't, if somebody's got that out there, I don't see any way that the city of Harrisburg, with our smaller number of residents, could come up with a cheaper way of treating our wastewater than regionalization, let alone the cities of Brandon, Brenner, T, Lennox, which will eventually be there.
Yeah, I agree with you, but absent a contract tonight, I don't think we can make an assumption that there's going to be an agreement 2 years or 3 years from now.
Nothing's a guarantee.
Right.
Yeah, nothing's, we wouldn't be anyway. I just like getting.
But you've got the
incentive.
incentive, Mayor. You got the incentive to be there. I mean, the incentive is more.
Would it be appropriate at this time to make a motion?
You sure can.
I'd like to move that we approve this. It's got to get on the Pony Express to get down to Harrisburg.
Let's make the motions. Is there a second?
Second, Anderson.
Costello seconded. Further comments on the motion to approve item number 21?
I need to make an amendment because I philosophically cannot agree with changing a rate for no real reason, and I'm not going to get into all the details. We've hashed those to death. There is going to be a contract, come heck or high water, and I would like to see the time period remain at 1.25 for the length of this particular agreement.
So your motion is to leave 1.25 for the length of the contract?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Knutson
Knudsen.
seconds that motion. Further comments on that motion?
Could I
Go ahead.
could I add an amendment to that amendment?
Well, why don't you wait till this one gets, what do you have, a substitute to do?
Maybe a substitute that they are required to participate in the regionalization formula, like as he proposed. I mean, that's a missing link in this whole agreement, is that they may or may not participate, and I think the mayor is willing to agree to participate. I think that's...
Mr. Mayor, with regard to Greg's question, could Bob please answer, is there any way that us as a council can obligate their city to do something like that?
I agree with that all the way. I don't know how you obligate.
We can't put that in the contract?
I don't know how you'd obligate terms. I mean, you really can't obligate a future council. And so I don't know how you obligate them. That's...
I agree with Mr. Jameson, but I don't...
In 5 years, under the agreement that was put together, it is subject to the re-agreement, a new agreement on what the cost would be. If you don't reach an agreement, there's no absolute right to renew. If they don't go along with what the fair cost is, they don't have a right to renew the agreement. And that's one of the triggering points, what happens in 5 years.
And we don't either. I mean,
it's a two-way street. How you obligate is an issue. Let's take this amendment here and see where we're at with that, and then we'll come back and see council member. We got the motion to 1.25 for the length of the contract. That's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz,
No.
Staggers,
No.
Anderson,
No.
Benega,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Costello.
No.
Munson, no. So we're back to the main motion as approved. We had motion by Litz and seconded by Costello to approve item 21 as is. Get back to yours. I don't know if you can do it, but I suppose you make a motion, but
Well,
how
maybe
binding it is, because you can't, to bind somebody else is really difficult in much of the process. So.
I hate to see it overlooked. I mean, I know we can't enforce it, or Maybe Gerald has an answer.
I'm not sure that anybody seconded his motion.
They did.
So why are we talking about?
We're just talking discussions. There's a second to the motion. That might take care of it.
I'll second that.
Okay, Anderson, second. Now we got a motion that's got to be voted upon. So.
I would just have for discussion purposes, from the city attorney, is there any possible way that that would be enforceable, not having defined terms?
Well, I guess it isn't in the agreement right now. So you're proposing to amend the agreement that's in front of you, which I have. I guess I've seen amendments of ordinances. I haven't seen many contracts amended. The only thing is that unless they adopt it at their meeting and agree to do that, it wouldn't be binding on anyone.
Can you bind a council out of our jurisdiction?
No. But they'd have to accept. That's what I say. They'd have to accept it.
They'd have to do it. I mean, I don't know. And, so we've got the motion before us, and it's been made and seconded. Further comments on the motion? Good.
Mr. Mayor, Troy Libers from the City Council of Harrisburg. Just like to let you know that we are investing $10 million in this project. So we are committed to making this go forward. It is not something that we're willing to back away from. If you'd like language into the contract that says we would be part of a regional approach, we're willing to put that into the contract and say that we'd agree to that.
But you're going to be there no matter what. I mean, I don't know.
We're spending the money now. We're hooking up to your system. We really don't have the opportunity to spend money to purchase a plant of our own. So yes, we're willing to put that language into the contract, if that helps.
Could you just sign on this, Troy?
Certainly.
I mean, do we really, up here, do we really want to vote on a motion that's not constitutional? I mean,
Well,
to bind somebody is hard.
I mean, we can barely, bind the next city council.
Mr. Mayor, we've got, Harrisburg was good enough to come up on record to say that they're going to do it. I don't want to tie this thing up tonight because I'm afraid this agreement has to get going here for them to meet their deadline, and we've got to take them at their word sooner or later.
Well, we got the motion before us, and let's vote on that motion, and everybody understands the motion is to bind Harrisburg. So all in favor of the motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
No.
Litz?
No.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
No.
Benega?
No.
Brown?
No.
Costello?
No.
That motion has failed, so we're back to the main motion. Further comments on the main motion?
I just have to make one comment, and I appreciate the fact that the people from Harrisburg have hung in with us for this long of a time, and I also want to thank Mark for all the effort he's put into this for the last few weeks. He's been answering emails on weekends and holidays to make this thing work, and I appreciate everybody's work ethic in making this happen. Even if we philosophically have an issue, I'm thankful that we're to this point.
Thank you. You got the motion?
Just one other comment. Dee talked about how Harrisburg residents use our facilities, and I know she would agree with this as well. We need Harrisburg as much as they need us, too, because they provide workers for Sioux Falls. They spend a lot of money in Sioux Falls and generating sales tax, so we're glad that we can be partners and neighbors on this.
And I really do want to thank Harrisburg for working through this with us. I know it's been kind of tedious at times, but thank you very much for your patience, and you are a good citizen for us, and we appreciate it when you do. So further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item number 21 will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 21 has been approved 8-0. Back to item 13.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Section 35-113 of Division 1, Article 3 of Chapter 35 pertaining to investment of assets of the firefighters' pension fund.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Gail Eastland of the City Attorney's Office. Item 13 is the second reading of an ordinance that consists of amendments to the firefighter pension fund ordinances, specifically dealing with investment of assets. It's been 40 years since those ordinances were last amended, so this is an update to those that briefly calls for the pension boards to have the ability to retain additional financial experts than they're able to now, requires them to pass an investment policy, and also provides for the appointment of a consultant to review what the financial experts are doing. And the Firefighters Pension Board of Trustees recommends that the council approve these amendments.
Thank you. Questions of Gail on item number 13? Others that wish to address the council on item number 13? Not? Is there council discussion or motion?
Move to approve, Brown.
I second the motion,
Knudsen
Knudsen.
seconds. Further comments on the motion to approve? Made and seconded, all in favor? Vote yes. All opposed? No.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
That motion prevails 8-0. Item 14.
An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Section 35-50 of Division 1, Article 2 of Chapter 35 pertaining to investment of assets of the Employees Retirement System.
Gail Eastland again with the City Attorney's Office. These amendments are identical to item 13, only they apply to the Employees Retirement System Fund. And the first, item 13, applied to the Firefighters Fund.
Questions of Gail on item 14?
I move for approval of item number 14, Knudsen.
Knudsen moves. Is there a second?
Second, Costello.
Costello, second. Is there any others that wish to address the council on item number 14? Not. We've got a motion for us. All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 14 has been approved 8-0. Item 15.
An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at Brennan Drive and Sycamore Avenue from the C4 Plan Commercial District to the RA1 Residential District, petition number 2009-1007, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is an item that's been submitted by Costello Companies to change the zoning property located north and east of Brennan Drive and Sycamore Avenue from commercial to multifamily residential. The property is just under 2 acres in size, and the developers are proposing to construct 2 8-unit apartment buildings on this property.
Questions of Mike on item number 15? Others that wish to address the council on item number 15? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Jameson moved. Who seconded?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Further comments on the motion to approve? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 15 has been approved 8-0. Item 16.
An ordinance, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at South Klein Avenue and West 56th Street from the RA1 Residential District to the RD Residential District, petition number 2009-10-01, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition by Empire Homes. The property is located south of 56th Street and west of Klein Avenue. It is just over 2 acres in size. This is a lower density development, and they're actually downzoning it. The intent by the developers is to construct 5 buildings that will consist of 4 townhome units per building.
Questions of Mike on item number 16? Others that wish to address the council on item 16? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Litz.
Litz moves. Is there a second?
Second, Benninger.
Benega seconds. Further comments on the motion to approve item 16? Seeing none, all in favor, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 16 has been approved 8-0. Item 17.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Chapter 15 of Appendix B of the revised ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota by revising final development plan exceptions. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a change to our procedure regarding planned development zoning districts. Once the City Council has approved a zoning ordinance for a planned development district, that zoning district identifies certain land uses that are allowed to be developed. And in most cases, those uses have to go through one more public hearing before the Planning Commission. It's called a final development plan. We have historically provided exceptions for that next step, additional step, and this ordinance would add to the list of exemptions subdivision, clubhouses, and recreation facilities, along with churches and schools.
Questions of Mike on item number 17? Others that wish to address the council on item 17? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconds. Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 17, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 17 has been approved 8-0. Item 18.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations, health, $372,483.
Jill Franken, Assistant Health Director. This item is to add to the general fund supplemental funds for increased dental services as well as mental health services for Falls Community Health in the Health Department.
Questions? Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Jill, can you say something more about mental health services? I guess I was not aware that the city was involved in that.
Falls Community Health has contracted with Southeastern Behavioral Health for a number of years, since 2001, I believe, for mental health services when we received expansion grant funding at that time. With this funding, the first intent of the stimulus monies, which is a portion of this funding, was to increase dental services. Well, we also then were fortunate enough to get an oral health expansion grant right after we received that stimulus approval for the money to be used for dental. So we asked for a switch of that money to then go to mental health services, which also is a big need right now for our patients. So we're transferring the use of that money from the Fed's perspective to mental health services from dental.
Can you tell us how many people take advantage of those services?
Currently, we serve, we've provided for around 750 visits a year for mental health counseling services. And we this year have estimate that we'll be serving around, it looks like we're on par to serve around 7,500 dental visits this year.
Further questions of Jill on item number 18? Others that wish to address the council on item number 18? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Litz
moves. Is there a second?
Second, Benega.
Benega seconds. Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, so all in favor vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 18 has been approved 8-0. Item 19.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by adding one property to Section 39-82A, providing for rural service district lands.
The city has, for many years, enacted a program called Rural Service Districts. By working with both Lincoln and Minnehaha counties, this is a process whereby when property is annexed that is vacant or agricultural, it can continue to be taxed at basically the township levy as opposed to the city levy. And it's a way of helping property owners that have annexed property that maybe is not quite ready for development, to give them a little bit of a tax break. The map that we have up on the exhibit now shows all the current properties that are in rural service district designations. Through communication with Minnehaha County, we were told that, according to their records, the property that's being presented tonight is in a rural service district, but was never added to our map, so we are asking the City Council tonight to look at adding this property onto our rural service district designation. The property is approximately 20 acres of land. It's on the north side of Skunk Creek and on the west side of Interstate 29. It is currently undeveloped vacant land, so it would qualify.
Questions of Mike on item 19? Okay, let's go to 20.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Appendix B zoning ordinance regarding campgrounds and camping units.
This is a modification of our zoning ordinance that we've been working on for some time pertaining to the standards for a conditional use permit application allowing campgrounds. And we've been working on this for some time. There was an earlier version that did go through the Planning Commission with a recommendation for approval. And in working with the City Council Land Use Committee, we have modified this ordinance to where it is before you tonight, that we believe addresses to not only the existing campgrounds, but also addresses existing regulations that are used by the state of South Dakota for licensing of campgrounds, and also provides for the development of future campground requirements. These changes have gone through a lot of review, not only by the council as well as staff, but also in working with the campground owners.
Questions of Mike on item number 20? Not, is there a motion to set the hearing date for December 21st for items 19 and 20?
I so move Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconds. Further comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of setting the hearing date for December 21st for items 19 and 20, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Twinniga?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 19 and 20, the hearing date has been set for December 21st, 8-0. Item 21. 22.
Item 22, a resolution adopting the Shape Sioux Falls 2035 Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. Sam Trebilcock, City Planning Office. I spoke for quite a while with you about a month ago at the informational and gave you a pretty good tour, I think, of the 2035 Comprehensive Plan. What I'm going to do today is do a little bit of review, and hopefully you've had some time to take a look at it. This plan started really officially a couple of years ago, and so it's been in the process for quite a while. And I think we've been lucky enough to have a lot of public involvement into this process, and I'm going to detail that at the end here. And then also, as it is a public hearing, certainly would like to provide some times from anyone from the public that would like to speak and what they see as part of this process and their comment on the plan. Now, getting back to why is Shape Sioux Falls important as a comprehensive plan. It's a comprehensive plan that develops policies that will help guide future ordinances, budgets, and master plans in the future. And we're looking out again to the year 2035. That's a horizon year. The last comprehensive plan, or the one that we currently have effective, has a horizon of 2015. That's just in 5 short years. So obviously we want to look a little further out than that, and in our case we thought 2035 was very appropriate. Comprehensive plan guides future development, and as I'm going to be talking about in a little while, it needs to be consistent. Our ordinances, our implementation of this needs to be consistent with this plan. To sum it up shortly, one back, Dave, if you can. 2 back. The future is shaped today, and that's something that is important for you all to take note of, is that the things that we do today are going to shape the future tomorrow, and that's the importance of shaping Sioux Falls. I'm going to go quickly through each one of the chapters and just give you a quick review of some of the things that we're looking at within the Shape Sioux Falls ordinance, or Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. Our plan goals, there's 3 goals within Chapter 1. Those are effectively managing growth, plan neighborhoods, land use, and urban form. Those were within Chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. And Goal 1 is within Chapter 2. We try real hard within the plan to link our goals with, or our chapters with the goals and our objectives. And goal 3 is to improve the sustainability of the community. Those are within chapters 5, 7, 8, and 9. Why are these changes important within this chapter, the things that we're doing here, and what is different than the 2015 plan? The 2035 plan provides a link to each chapter, as I mentioned, in this document, and updates to allow a basis for more development options and policies for sustainability, which we really found to be really important from a lot of the public input that we received. Chapter 2 is shape growth. The overall intent there is to determine the location and the phasing of new development out to the year 2035. The map that you see there is our growth management plan map. It identifies the areas that we will be growing into by the year 2035, the areas in blue within the next 5 years, the areas in green for 5 to 15 years, and the areas in orange in that 15 to 25-year period. Why are the changes important here that we're doing in the 2035 plan? The chapter provides a guidance on phasing of growth areas and utilities. That's something that we tried real hard within this chapter, and hopefully you noticed that we really beefed that up, that we're providing how we're going to be phasing the plan, and not just here's our growth area. And the 2015 growth area was outdated, while the 2035 growth area adds significant acres to the southeast, northwest, north sections of our growth area, a little bit to the southwest too. You can see that large area in green on the southeast, that area was all added. Significant area in the orange up to the northwest was added, and then some areas to the north. There's a couple maps that I wanted to make sure that you saw that we updated just recently. Both this map, this is the growth management plan tier structure map for roads and water. This was updated since we actually advertised the public hearing. Generally was updated for the roads and water to go out to our growth area limits out to the 2035 area. So you can see that. This also shows we do that for roads and water, and we do it for the next one too, a map showing the public facilities, and we phase those out. We updated this map pretty significantly, so thought those were important items to show council and the public. Chapter 3 is shape neighborhoods. The overall intent there is to guide the arrangement of future neighborhoods and employment centers. This map here, you can also see identifies the future growth areas of T, Harrisburg, and Brandon. And also what we're trying to do here is identify, and this is much different than our current future land use map, and that we're trying to show just the intensities of the development, the areas that would really see the highest degree of commercial employment center land uses. So it's important for us to I think, to show as part of our process. And what is it? How is it different? And what are those changes? And why are they important? The 2015 future land use map is outdated right now, and no plan for additional growth areas. So we've identified what those growth areas are going to be by intensity within those areas that we've added. The 2015 future land use map has created the need right now at this point, because it is outdated, for many future land use amendments. We have areas that are outside of the growth area, so we're constantly having to look at future land use amendments. And also, based upon this more nodal map rather than the boxes that we had on the future land use map that we currently have, this gives us a little bit more flexibility, actually quite a bit more flexibility, to look at just the intensity of the area that generally is going to be occurring, and not have to worry about some of the changes in just geometrics, future land use plan amendments. The 2035 future land use map also allows for more land use options and guides the greatest employment intensity to the largest street intersections. We spent a lot of time, including meetings with IRAB, in discussing how that was working, and I think that ended up working out really well, and in focusing the areas that the most intensity of employment are going to occur along the largest street intersections. Chapter 4 is shape transitions. The overall intent there is to maintain neighborhood character by creating compatible transitions that minimize land use conflicts. What we've done, the biggest thing that we added within this chapter was the chart that you see in front of you. This is an example, kind of gets you through and an idea what we're trying to do with land use transitions. What we do is looking at the different types of land use transitions on the chart to identify what the compatibility, the level of compatibility that we can be seeing within these areas. This example here looks at commercial 3 and office. It has a 4, which is generally very compatible, but needs and requires some level of mitigation. Usually that might be a little bit of landscaping, fencing, things like that. The areas that you're looking at in 2 would require significant mitigation, more separation, maybe an intermediary type of transition buffer, land use buffer, things like that. 5s are very compatible. Why are these changes important for this chapter based upon our current plan? Update zoning district policies that we also added to this chapter, guide zoning ordinance update that we'll be doing here in the future, and also provides a more specific guidance for transition of zoning districts and land uses as shown with this compatibility chart. Chapter 5 is Shape Places. This we spent a lot of time on, and of course we brought forward this chapter specifically to you earlier this year, and it received your endorsement. Overall intent of that chapter is to create lively, secure, and distinctive places. It's a very visual chapter. Why are the changes important? Provides us a lot more development options. Mixed-use development policies are allowable within this chapter, and as I mentioned earlier, visual-based policies are a part of this to try to really provide something for developers as they come in the door to say, this is the kind of things that we're looking for and can start to work with here in Sioux Falls. Chapter 6 is Shape Corridors. The overall intent here is to develop attractive street corridors that enhance and reinforce adjacent development. The map here shows the current street development patterns that were here, or the corridor development patterns. Why are the changes important with this chapter? It provides a basis for developing the character of the city's streetscape and also sets up our zoning setbacks. Really sets the character and the basis for what that zoning district is going to be in that area. And the policies to identify distinctive streets are also identified here. What makes a street distinctive, and which street should we be, and how should we be protecting them in the future? Chapter 7 is Shape Facilities. The overall intent here is to maintain and improve city-owned facilities, infrastructure, and services. The changes here, what are really important here that we're adding or changing? We're updating the policies to determine when and where city facilities will be constructed. And that 2015 facility list needed to be updated, so we updated that, of course, out to 2035. That facility list is shown on the next slide here. We did update that. We moved some things from here to there. So I think it's important for us to, of course, look at a future, which essentially is your future CIP list. You can see 2010 to 2015, your current CIP period as it's coming up here. And then the next 5-year periods from that we're continuing out to 2035 includes branch libraries, fire stations. It talks about the event center, aquatic center, park sites. Talks about landfills and water projects. A lot of these are very large projects, something to keep on the radar screen, and I think are very important for you to keep track of. Chapter 8 is Shape Foundations. The overall intent here is to conserve and or revitalize the older foundation neighborhoods. Why are these changes important from our 2015 plan? The 2035 plan updates the policies and also very significantly looks at changing those neighborhood areas. Some of the boundaries change, including like Pettigrew Heights, and also we've added some areas to be looking at and put on the radar screen for assistance in the future. Chapter 9 is Shape Resources. The overall intent here is to conserve and protect important environmental, human, and economic resources through sustainable practices. Why are the changes important? Sustainability policies have been added to help guide future city master plans and development. That's important for us to look as a guide as we look into the future, how we need to become more sustainable. So we've kind of set out this as a guide towards that future, those master plans. And then Chapter 10, which is Shape Implementation, which includes the zoning, your subdivision, joint zoning process. Why are those changes important? Foremost, we're really looking at our zoning ordinance hasn't been updated since 1983. We know that needs to move forward. Once the comprehensive plan is adopted, we can move forward with that. There's also other things that would take place with implementation of this. We would start looking at updating some of our other policies over in the future at probably a much smaller scale, but still would need to look at that. As I mentioned before, the comprehensive plan needs to be consistent, or all the ordinances that you have need to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. That's what we consider the consistency doctrine. South Dakota law requires that zoning regulations shall be made in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Also, the subdivision ordinance needs to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So those are important things to keep in mind as we move forward. Now, in the future, we also need to be looking at joint jurisdictional process. We have a joint jurisdictional process with Lincoln County and Minnehaha County, and have for a while now. The comprehensive plan also needs to be adopted by those bodies too. So this is laying out a tentative agenda or tentative process for going forward with the Minnehaha County and Lincoln County process. It needs to first go forward with the planning commissions and then the governing bodies. On that process, on the next slide, why adopt it? Essentially what we're having to do is adopt it 3 times. Well, you have 2 different ordinances that you're looking at and process and different bodies essentially that you need to be looking at. These are the ordinances that require that. City council adoption for zoning and subdivision ordinances, and also joint city and county adoption for the joint zoning ordinance. Requires it for planning commission and for the city council and governing bodies. Shape, places, step, and process. I want to talk a little bit and remind you about the public involvement process that we've been through here. Just on Chapter 5, that was started in 2008. We had a visual listening survey and a review committee process that took that process and took much of 2008 and part of 2009. Then also on the remaining chapters on the next slide, we also had an open house on August 20th. 70 people attended there. We had chapter review meetings that we went through with members of the public. I believe there was already one person that spoke here. He was at every single one of our chapter meetings, and there was others. I believe there's one other person here who was at every one of our meetings, and there's other people here that were at those meetings. And that was a great opportunity for us to get input from the public and give us an idea of where we were going and how we could improve it. You can see some of the examples, some of the comments that were addressed, and then also there were presentations to other groups and committees that we've had since the last time we talked. There's a lot in this plan. Certainly what I'd like to be able to do is provide an opportunity as a public hearing for other people to spend a little time speaking with you on this. I know there's some people here that are here for that reason, so I'd certainly turn it over to them and then just entertain any questions that you have after that.
Questions, Sam? Okay, others that wish to address the council on item number 22?
My name is Michael Christensen, 1813 South Purdue Avenue. I'm excited about this plan. I went to the visual listening survey. I brought friends to that. I participated in a transportation stakeholder meeting, and I participated in a couple of the chapter discussions. Really enjoyed the process. I'm really excited about this plan. I look at it and I see that input from me was taken on the pages there. I'm particularly excited about goal number 3. I want to live in a community that strives for sustainability. I'm also pretty excited about the corridor possibilities in the plan. One need only watch a group of girls walk from the Empire Mall to the Empire East Mall to realize that corridors are important. And so I wanted to speak and say I'm supportive of this plan, and I hope that you will too.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Others?
Perry Hanneman, 6400 West 53rd Street. First, compliment Sam in his efforts. I think he did an outstanding job of helping to pull all of this together. He probably sleeps this every night, and he'll probably be glad when this is over. But I want to affirm the opportunities for community to be involved. There were a lot of different ways that public can be involved, from the open house to the chapter hearings to Sam was willing to bring this to any forum that he was invited to come to, and he took advantage of those opportunities. It was available on the siouxfalls.org website on the homepage, so it was easily accessible for the community to comment and to be involved in this process. And I know a large number of people participated in a number of different ways. I, too, am excited about this. This was a great opportunity for any citizen to have input, and the plan, I think, is broad but yet flexible. And I'm not sure, many of my neighbors asked, why was I so excited about this? You probably won't be around in 35 years. It'd be nice if I was. And this would be a great community to live in if I am. So I ask for your support in supporting SHAPE Sioux Falls 2035. I hope I have that right.
Thank you. Great questions. Others that wish to address the council?
Dennis Gillum, 3917 West 89th Street. I'm also the senior manager of the Empire Mall. Thank you very much. And I was on the SHAPE Sioux Falls committee and attended many of the open houses and the chapter meetings. So I was involved from the beginning. I took the visual survey. I've spoken a couple of times to you guys and also to the planning and zoning, and mostly spoke about the long, arduous task involved and that was taken on by the city planners, and they did a great job, and the various committee members. But I thought tonight, I felt that I should talk a little bit about something I feel like is more important than thanking these people one more time, and those things that are not written into the comprehensive plan. Two things, basically. The first are the threads that bound the agreement and the thinking that permeated every meeting and every conversation during that 2-year span. That thread was flexibility and incentives. The conversation and the votes always gave developers the opportunity to be creative without additional costs due to codes and ordinances. The second thing is what happens now. The citizens, Jeff and Sam, the committee members, the engineers, the consultants, the planners, their work is done. What is important now is what ordinances are drawn up and voted on into law by this body and by those to come through 2035. So it is my hope that you remember the threads that bind the agreement, flexibility and incentives, then pass that along to those that follow.
Thank you. Questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 22? I see no one coming forward, so is council discussion or action?
I move for approval of item number 22. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Jamison.
Jamison seconds. Further comments on the motion to approve?
Yes, let me also mention that I was able to attend many of these meetings and take part in informal votes, especially with Chapter 5 issues. And so I basically agree with what everybody has said tonight. We did have a very extended process and a lot of discussion. The part of this plan that I like the best is where we talk about deregulation. And there are many parts of this plan that allows greater flexibility. So that's something to be commended. Because this last summer we had a community forum, and one of the concerns expressed at the community forum was that, we got to watch out that we don't over-regulate in Sioux Falls. However, having said that, I do have a little bit different perspective than the other people who have testified this evening. I am concerned that there is lots and lots of needless regulation in this ordinance. And my concern around regulation centers around the fact that regulation means also control. And I'm concerned that while we do have some flexibility in the plan, we also have more controls over private property. So I'm very, very concerned about that. Also, with regulation, most of the time you also get greater costs. So I'm concerned about the additional costs that we're going to impose on private property here in Sioux Falls. Now, a number of us on the Sioux Falls City Council attended a meeting of a local business just about 10 days ago. And we got to take a tour of the business. And then later on, we had some comments about how their business was developing this land. And one concern that was expressed was that the business was concerned that the city of Sioux Falls was requiring a certain number of trees on their property. And they were wondering why that was the case, because they had a new style of landscaping their property that would fit in very nicely with their building. And that's a concern that I think that we have to be cognizant of, that the city sometimes gets down to really minutia when it comes to regulation. Let businesses, in this particular case, go ahead and landscape their property the way they want. I mean, many people talk about diversity and having differences. It would be great to allow this business to landscape the way it wants to. So when you take a look at the total Shape Sioux Falls plan here, it's a tough vote because, like I said, there are some good things in this plan. But I'm more concerned about the regulation, the additional regulation that we could possibly have in the future. So instead of shaping Sioux Falls, my concern is that this plan might be controlling Sioux Falls.
In fairness to the city and the planning department, that business on that tour also said that the planning department was working with them and that it would allow the different regulations for the trees and landscaping.
We said we'd bring a variance, so the variance is on that one. So there are avenues that they can pursue on that one. So that's going to happen.
If I could just respond. Why do the businesses have to even engage in that? Why not let the businesses go ahead and landscape without going through the games of asking for a variance and asking permission to do this? After all, it's their private property.
Okay, we've got a motion here that's been made, second to approve item number 22. Further discussion? I see none. So all in favor of approving, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members have voted. 7 yes, 1 no. Item 22 has been approved. Item 23.
A resolution amending the future land use map as part of the Sioux Falls 2015 Growth Management Plan, petition number 2009-08-12 at South Minnesota Avenue and West 85th Street, from an allocation of parks and open space, office, and undesignated land uses to an allocation of commercial, office, multifamily residential, and single-family residential future land uses.
This is a property that's owned by Treecom Properties. It's approximately 33 acres of land on South Minnesota Avenue near 85th Street. This was recently approved by the City Council to be annexed into the city. And under our current 2015 plan, as Sam just talked about, this is one of those land use amendments that we think we'll eventually see fewer of with the new plan that you've approved tonight. The land use plan as presented tonight shows that this property will be developed into roughly 7.5 acres of commercial, 8 acres of office, 4.5 acres of multifamily, and 13 acres of single-family land uses.
Questions of Mike on item number 23. Others that wish to address the council on item number 23? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Litz
moves. Is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconds. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 23, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
All members present have voted. Item 23 has been approved 8-0. Item 24.
A resolution amending resolution number 102-09, which authorized the city of Sioux Falls to gift to Minnehaha County one transit bus.
This amendment corrects the serial number and model number of one of our buses that we've approved to be donated to Minnehaha County. And just as a reminder that we now have a new name for our transit system, Sioux Area Metro. Another Sam.
Questions of Mike on item number 24. Be noticed that Council Member Anderson will be excused. Further questions of Mike on item 24? Others who wish to address the council on item number 24? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Litz.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconds. Further comments on the motion? I see none, so all in favor vote yes, those opposed no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 24 has been approved. Item 25.
A resolution establishing the Sioux Falls City Council's priorities for the 2010 state legislative session.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'd like to read the 6 priorities of the council.
Okay.
Number 1 is the Sioux Falls City Council strongly encourages the legislature to enact enabling legislation which allows municipalities to levy a local option tax to raise funds for a specified purpose, to include a sunset clause, and to be voted on by the citizens. Number 2, the Sioux Falls City Council strongly encourages the legislature to ensure adequate funding to meet the transportation needs. Number 3, the Sioux Falls City Council, in conjunction with the South Dakota Municipal League, encourages standards to be developed to provide equal 911 service to all citizens and visitors, and encourages cooperative efforts to improve 911 services and efficiencies. Number 4, the Sioux Falls City Council strongly encourages the legislature to continue to support a statewide ban on smoking in all enclosed workplaces, public buildings, restaurants, bars, and casinos. Number 5, the Sioux Falls City Council strongly encourages the legislature to make it permissible, convenient, and affordable to conduct background checks by establishing and maintaining an internet website containing South Dakota public criminal history for accessing information by any person who intends to access the website to obtain information regarding an applicant for employment, housing, or credit. The South Dakota criminal information would be added/available to the national database. And number 6, the Sioux Falls City Council strongly encourages the legislature to allow cities and counties to pool their resources through the bid process to aggregately purchase supplies and/or building materials.
Questions? Others who wish to address the council on item number 25? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Knutson.
Second, Costello.
Costello seconds. Further comments? Go ahead.
Yes, in the past, I've generally voted against these resolutions because we always have in there, we want to make it easier to tax. And this is in there, this is the first one that's listed. And this is particularly wrong to do this year, considering we're in the midst of a recession.
Further comments? Got a motion, been made, seconded. See no further comments. All in favor of approval on item 25, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
No.
Staggers? Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present vote. Item 25 has been approved, 7 yes, 1 no. Item 26.
Report of the November 24, 2009 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Okay, no action needed there, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Jameson
Second.
moved and seconded by, who seconded?
I did.
Brown seconded. All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilors Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
We stand adjourned.
We'll bring you a cookie next.